It's time for the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is the voice of the working class, Rick Smith.
Welcome, brothers, sisters, working class heroes. This is the Rick Smith Show. Thanks so much for being here today on the big program. Lots to get to. Lots to talk about. Michigan, looking at you. I'm hoping, very much so hoping, Michigan, you're going to show the Democrats how to actually govern. Michigan is going to show us how to get it done so that in 2024, if Democrats take power again, maybe they'll have the blueprints of how to move an agenda. I'm hoping that the good folks there in Michigan who have swept into controlling all of the branches of government now use that power. Now, remember, a couple years ago, Virginia did this. They took the governor's mansion. They had the General Assembly. They had the power to do pretty much what they wanted. And I would argue, well, not so much. And it's always been my view that when you get the keys to the car, drive it. When you have the steamroller, pave the road. Simple. Give people a reason to vote for you. And this is where I keep telling my Democratic friends. Push those policies we all want. Do the things working people want you to do. For instance, I got a memo of some of the things that are going to be moving in the legislation that's going to be moving in Michigan that I think will do very good things for working people. A couple of pieces of legislation that are going out. One that would enable workers to keep more of their hard-earned cash by expanding and increasing the earned income tax credit. People with kids who have jobs, because again, remember, we want people to have jobs. We want people to have children. We want them to be able to support those kids. Getting them the resources they need to help support their families. Smart idea, good policy. Something Republicans should be all in favor of. Because in fact, the earned income tax credit was, if you remember, something that came up during the Reagan years. Yeah, because we wanted those people to keep jobs, we want them to have kids. So instead of, welfare programs, we gave him a little bit of help with the job stuff. I'm in favor of that. As you know, and I take heat for this every time I say it, and I will say it again, I'm against handout programs. As a kid growing up, there was nothing worse than having to go into stores with clown money to buy food. I'm against handout programs. People want jobs. People want opportunity. They want hope for the future. So instead of welfare checks, we need paychecks. And if the private sector can't or won't create enough jobs to ensure that everyone has a job that sufficiently covers their needs and some of their wants, then the public sector has to step in and fill that void. And this is where, again, we have the ability to do this. We're the wealthiest country in the history of civilization at its wealthiest moment. We just choose not to. So again, Michigan, looking at you, and this is a good first step. Expand and give more people the opportunity to get the earned income tax credit. Good thing. Also, going to go and restore the state's prevailing wage law. That is a huge thing. And you go, what's the big deal about that? Why is that such a big thing? Well, one, it's going to ensure that you have a local building trade. It's going to make sure you have local construction people, local crafts people. So when you need a school or a bridge or anything, you have qualified, skilled people locally who are going to be building that stuff, and that they and their children will be going in and out of those buildings, so we know they're going to build it right with some pride, some dignity, and then you're going to have to put up with them driving by going, I built that. Also, the more important part of this, what prevailing wage laws do is they ensure that those jobs are compensated at a very good rate, with health care, with retirement, with safe conditions. And that permeates the local community. It is a good for the entire community. Those wages that those workers earn, where do you think that money goes? Goes down to Joe's hardware store or to Mary Ann's kitchen, or it goes to the local economy. And it reverberates and bangs through that local economy and creates more jobs. It is smart policy. It is good policy. You know where it doesn't go? Into the pockets of the contractors. Which, without prevailing wage laws, what we know happens is they cheat the workers out of wages, they cheat them out of benefits, they cheat them out of health care and retirement, and cut corners at every opportunity so that they can enrich themselves. So we got this scenario plays out time and time again. We got very wealthy handfuls and struggling everyone else. Bad policy gets us bad outcomes. Conversely, good policy, good outcomes. So good on Michigan for looking at this as well. Also, they're talking about repealing the state's no rights at work. They're going to undo the right to work bill that was rammed through like thieves in the night back. I think it was 2012 in the lame duck. Because it doesn't work. And all you have to do to know that neither of these policies work is look at West Virginia. You got a radical Trumpy governor there, Jim Justice, who came out not too long ago and said, look, we did what you wanted. We did all of it. All of it. Undid our prevailing wage, passed the no rights at work, went after workers' comp, went after, you name it, they went after it. We're going to be business friendly. And look, West Virginia's been business friendly forever. They've been raping the ground and stealing the profits for generations. And who doesn't benefit? Well, the working people. And they went even further. And it didn't work. Because bad policy doesn't work. So I'm looking at this and I'm looking at Michigan and going, look, it's time, Michigan. It's time to ensure that when you get the keys, you show the Democrats how to move the right policies. The things that built a prosperous working class, the things that gave us that iconic middle class we talk about, which is nothing but a prosperous working class. People who have hope and opportunity that tomorrow they're going to be able to buy a house. Some of the stories we've heard from people talking about union jobs, better lives. Being able to see a dentist, being able to get their own bedroom as children because the family was able to buy a house, being able to get food at the end of the month, being able to get a secondhand car, all the stories that we've heard. That's what these policies do. And for too long, we've been undoing them. And here in the near future, working on it diligently, because it came up during my interview with former Illinois Congressman Joe Walsh, that we're going to sit down and he wants to argue trickle-down economics. And look, there's nothing more than I would like to do than have a couple of beers and get into a room with Joe and not let anybody out. But more importantly, having those conversations about what kind of an economy do we want? And who are the winners and who are the losers? Because in all of the conservative supply-side voodoo Reaganomic era of trickle down, of deregulation, of bad neoliberal trade, who are the winners? Who are the losers? It's always been my premise that all of those policies are working exactly as intended. Our broken tax code, our bad trade deals, the whole no rights at work agenda working exactly as it was supposed to work. And that is the clawback wages, hours, conditions from you and me. It's about crushing the power of working people. And you go back to the last great opportunity. Because think about it. We were able to build this incredible, powerful, prosperous working class out of the Great Depression. And how did we do it? We did it through great policy. The New Deal gave us tools to be able to organize, tools to ensure that we had a floor under our feet, a safety net for our children, a safety net for our seniors, opportunity to get health care, education, all kinds of things. We took a high road policy position to make lives better. And things were going great. One income supported a family. The fabulous 50s were, listen to a MAGA person, they'll tell you, that's when America was great. Fast forward to the late 1970s. We've got stagflation. We've got all of these economic problems. Thank you, corporate America. And what do? They bring in Paul Volcker. They bring in a Federal Reserve with an aggressive policy to crush inflation. Now understand, for those people whose wages kept up, like my grandparents, because my grandparents bought a house in the 1960s for like $16,000, $18,000 at the time. At the end of the stagflation period, because of their union contracts that had cost of living adjustments in it, their mortgage from the 1960s was a day's pay at the end of the 1970s. They did okay because their wages kept up with the inflation. Their wages didn't get eaten away like it's happening now because their contracts made sure it happened. So as the Federal Reserve was doing everything they could do to make work painful in this country, to cause massive unemployment, to crush the power of workers to demand better wages, hours, and conditions, some people did okay. And when the policy of our government is, hey, how do we make people's lives worse so we can enrich the wealthy? I struggle. And we're in one of these moments now, folks. You got a Federal Reserve who's admitted we're raising interest rates. We're aggressively raising interest rates. And some economists are arguing for no reason whatsoever because wages are not what's driving the inflation. And also, you've now got a Supreme Court who's going, well, those workers are getting a little uppity, demanding better wages, hours, conditions by striking. Now we may we're going to curtail that power. Understand, it's the policies. It's the things that we allow to happen in our government. And as divided as we are, red hat, blue hat. Look, some of the most MAGA extreme Trumpkins that I know are good, decent union people who want to support their families and want the best economic outcomes. It's they've bought the wrong they've bought the wrong outrage. They're outraged at nonsense while they're being robbed blind because they're not seeing it. This is our responsibility to take this moment and refocus it back on what's really important. We are being robbed blind. Ask anybody who's my age and older, in their 50s and early 60s, the job they had back in the early 80s, the mid 80s. How much were they making back then? Late 70s. In dollar terms, what were they making back then in manufacturing? And it's, interestingly enough, right about the same as they're making now. No economic gimmickry, no inflation calculations or weird triangulations. No, dollar for dollar. Some people were making more back then because we've given corporate America so much power to use policy to crush our ability to fight for those better wages, hours, conditions, and the ability for us to support our families. And then they've thrown us outrage candy to make us hate each other instead of where it really belongs. Corporate boardrooms, business roundtable, bad policymakers, neoliberal economics, and which is why I cannot wait to sit down in a room with my good friend Joe Walsh and have a spirited discussion over a couple of beers. We are putting that together so we can do it face to face. I don't want to do it over Zoom. We are going to sit down and we will put that podcast out unedited. I will not edit it, and it will not be FCC friendly, so you will not hear it on the radio. That I can guarantee you. But I want to hear your thoughts. Anything I've said got on your skin, I want to hear it. Email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com, or give us a call, 1-866-416-RICK, 1-866-416-7425. This is The Rick Smith Show, where working people come to talk.
From the steel mills of Pennsylvania, to the auto factories of Michigan, to the modern makers movement, manufacturing makes our nation great. I'm Scott Paul, president of the Alliance for American Manufacturing. We bring business and labor together to advocate for policies that everyone can agree on, to Together, we can strengthen manufacturing and create good-paying American jobs. Help us keep it made in America.
We are AFGE, the American Federation of Government Employees. We represent 700,000 federal and D.C. government workers who are the vital threads of the fabric of American life. We support our nation's military. We take care of our nation's veterans. We protect our nation's borders. We respond to our nation's crises and natural disasters. We provide services to our nation's seniors. The American Federation of Government Employees. We work for America.
We've been farming the same farm for 3 generations, and it's just always been where I've wanted to be. Any farmer you talk to in Montana will tell you that the climate is definitely changing. The weather is way more extreme. We went from the wettest year we've ever had to this year with the worst drought we've had since the 80s. We have done everything we can to keep water going, but it got close to running out. Farmers can't afford the cost of climate change. Congress has to get this done.
1-866-416-RICK, 1-866-416-7425. You know, when you have an economy where people have hope and opportunity, you don't see dumb things happening. You don't see people committing idiotic crimes. You don't see recidivism going through the roof. In fact, I had a conversation with someone today who reminded me of an interview I did, several months back with I think he was an apprentice with the IBEW. He was somebody who spent time in prison, came out of prison, did his time, paid his debt to society, ended up getting into an apprenticeship program with the electrical workers, and is now living the dream. He's got a beautiful home, wife, children, a job that's going to be a career, all that stuff. And again, hope and opportunity. Never going to go back to the idiot knucklehead stuff he did in the past. On the straight path. We were in Michigan during the Working Class Heroes Tour. We sat down with Dana Nessel, the Attorney General, there in Michigan, to talk about their program of getting convicted felons when they come out of prison to get into these apprenticeship programs, and their program showed a 0% recidivism rate. When people got these jobs, when people got these opportunities, they didn't F it up. They took the opportunity, they moved forward, they bettered their lives. And look, I can say the same thing about myself. It was because of the job that I had that I was able to support myself as a younger man and stop doing the knucklehead stuff you do in your late teens and early 20s and get on the straight and narrow. This is what we need to make sure we do going forward. And we don't have dumb stuff happening. The sad reality is we're in a moment right now where it's almost the Hunger Games. There's so much desperation out there. And people are, perfect example. Over the weekend, I saw this story of a 13-year-old who evidently was breaking into people's cars and ended up getting shot and killed because he was breaking into cars. And it brings up this question. Is the 75 cents on the dashboard worth killing somebody over? Is that a crime worth being executed over? As I was reading the story, I was thinking about that guy in Texas who three criminals came out of his neighbor's window carrying a TV and some other stuff. He knew the family wasn't home. He's on the phone with the police. The police are on the way, but he's standing in the kitchen with the gun itching. He tells them, I'm gonna go out there, I'm gonna kill those guys. And he walks out in the front yard and he shoots all 3 of them in the back. He was under no threat. It had nothing to do with him. But because, they were stealing, he executed them. Now, if it's Texas, he got away with it. Is that the society we want to have? Again, the question is if we're going to have a society based on the one who dies with the most toys wins, what do you do with all the losers? Because when you've got Elon Musk and Bezos who have such enormous wealth that they've taken from so many others, what do you do with the people who don't have the ability to sustain? What do you do with them? What do you do with people who don't have health care and can't get the care that they need? Do we let them die on the street corner? What do you do with people who can't feed themselves? You know, growing up in the projects, our house was robbed constantly. I mean, I can think of probably 20 times where people burglarized our home. And what'd they steal? Because we didn't have anything. They stole food. They stole what little things we had. In fact, I still remember I had saved shoveling money. $20 I had in the bottom drawer of my dresser. And they stole it. Angry I was. But that's what happens when you live in desperation. And this is where smart policy should give people opportunity. Hands up, not hands out. But it's frustrating because what we've got a system based on, you know, I'm the winner. I mean, it's crazy. And the question is, you know, given the fact that what we're going to see over the next couple of months, over the next 2 years, does any of this change? Because I argue our political system is exactly where the rich and powerful want it. Broken, ineffective, divided, and having people throw up their hands and go, we can't do anything. It's hopeless. While they are robbing us blind. And I go back to this. When I first started working, my first real union job, in today's dollars, because I love that Bureau of Labor Statistics inflation calculator, and go back, you know, when your first job was back in whenever, go back in there, put what your starting wage was there, and then see what it would be today. And look at how corporate America has crushed the wage structure in this country. Now they'll want you to believe, oh, it's because of those immigrants. It's not the immigrants. It's the power that they have to keep wages suppressed. It's the power that they've been able to use we're going to threaten outsourcing. It's the power that they've had to threaten automation. It's the power that they've had to fire workers when they organize and strike. It's the power that they've had to use government over us. I keep saying, look, at the end of this, we have got to come together around an idea that we want an economy that's going to work for us. Red hat, blue hat aside. And look, we can have spirited discussions about whether, you know, people should be able to transition and live lives as whatever. We can have those spirited discussions. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter at all to me. I don't care. What I care about is every working person having the ability to support themselves and their families and to lead a dignified life. And that work is rewarded. It's respected. That to me that's the true north. All the other stuff we can fight over. And this is where the podcast episode with Joe Walsh, I'm kind of looking forward to. Because Joe and I have always had this very cordial relationship on air. Because look, we're both fighting in this world for the same thing. We both want democracy. We both want a democratic system that Republicans, his former party, working diligently to undo. We both have a view and a vision and an understanding of what our country should be. That's not the view of the current Republican leadership. So this should be an interesting thing, and when we get it out, we'll make sure everyone has an opportunity to take a listen to it. Again, I'm going to give you the explicit language warning. The FCC would not be thrilled if this is going to go up, I guarantee it. But I want to hear your thoughts. Share some. If something I said got on your nerves, I want to hear it. Email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. Going to take a quick break. When we come back and talk about a little bit about the ingredient strike. You may remember during the Working Class Heroes Tour, we stopped on the picket line in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. We're going to get an update on day 165 on how things are going. Right back after this.
The inmates are running the asylum. The far right, it's holding America hostage.
There is no obstacle this body can overcome.
And Lauren Boebert, with all due respect, I mean, the woman barely won her race.
Do you consider yourself a serious legislator? Well, absolutely.
The world will be gone.
Of course Joe Biden's the president.
Remember when I skydived?
That never happened, Jimmy.
Neither did this.
You can see one of the earlier pictures where I'd actually stiff-armed him. And, I knew he'd lost his cool.
Lord, we need one more bad boy billionaire raised up.
Oh, they throw gays off buildings. So?
We don't do something immediately, our country is gone.
When Marjorie Taylor Greene raced down the aisle to take a selfie with Kevin McCarthy, which may have been his first act as Speaker.
So sometimes democracy's messy, but I would argue that's exactly how the founders intended it.
It's a religion that's almost a cult, really, and it's a religion of this wokeness.
Here I am, a perfect candidate to be, RIP, and it just didn't happen.
I will not be taught vows and loyalty, commitment from a whore.
Maybe I should nominate President Donald J. Trump tomorrow.
Is this a game show?
Rosendale.
Kevin.
Hearn.
Lindsey Graham had his back to the swimming pool, and he was only about 2 feet away from the swimming pool. I really knew that if I pushed him in the pool, which could happen like that, all I had to do was rush him and shove him. And I immediately regretted not doing it.
The Honorable Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida has received one.
That was easy, huh?
It takes a lot to raise a family. A good job, a good salary, and some patience. A lot of people my age are drowning in college debt, but I chose a different path. I'm a member of the IBEW, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. I work hard for my job, and I love what I do. I had a lot of choices for my future, but I made the best choice for my family. IBEW, the right choice.
So while yesterday I did praise the House Republicans and Democrats for coming together in a bipartisan way to come up with this select committee on China, I think it's something we definitely need. Maybe undo some of the horrible policies that have lost millions of manufacturing jobs and screwed over the working class of this country for a variety of ways and means. I gave him some credit there. Well, the Republicans then undid all of that goodwill by coming up with this select subcommittee on the weaponization of the federal government. And Jim Jordan is going to be the head carnival barker, and we're going to get such fun and entertainment out of this. It's going to be like talk radio in Congress. I'm actually looking forward to it, to be honest with you. I want to see just how far, to use a Happy Days analogy, just how far they jump the shark. And here to share some thoughts on how far this goes, how deep we go into the depths of idiocy, I've asked our good friend Carolyn Fiddler to come talk with us. Carolyn is the political editorial director over at Courier Newsroom, couriernewsroom.com, the website. Carolyn, thanks for taking time for us.
Hey, I'm really glad to be here. And all I want to know is if Jim Jordan's ever going to find his suit jacket. Where's the committee on that? Yes,
where's the committee on the suit jacket? Actually, where's the committee on where was he during all of the gym time that all of the bad things were going on? Again, I always find it interesting that people are looking for all of these things when they've got all those things in their past.
Yeah.
So what do you make of this?
I don't know.
What do you make of this subcommittee on select subcommittee on the weaponization of government? We're gonna find out what size underwear Hunter Biden wears. Inquiring minds want to know, right?
No one wants to know that. No one actually wants to know that. And more importantly, no one cares because it doesn't actually help a single American human. Like, it benefits nobody.
No, I mean, but it's going to be this kind of outrage candy committee. I mean, like I said a minute ago, it's talk radio in Congress.
Yeah, it's the Fox Newsification of Congress. That's all it is. It's for Fox News content.
Because I
worked
believe
hard for the last couple of years, and now it's all just getting handed to them on a platter.
But they're now going to do this under the justification of, well, look what they did to Donald Trump. And you go, but wait a second. Donald Trump did commit crimes. He did things. I don't know how Hunter Biden has anything to do with our government.
I mean, like, has he ever held elected office? Not that I know of. I'm not saying he never has, but he certainly doesn't now. And also, yeah, when the other guy was president and like did a lot of actual crimes.
No, this is one of those things where I had someone go, well, don't you care that Joe Biden may have done something for him? I go, every politician, it's called nepotism. Every kid, I'll go back to when I was a kid. Billy Carter was selling Billy beer off of the fact that his brother was president. This happens. It didn't mean that Jimmy Carter was out there hawking beer or using the federal government to sell the beer. And if you can't draw me a straight line from Joe Biden calling up the Ukrainian government going, hey, my kid needs a job and I'm not sending you weapons until you get him a job, then it doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah, and Republicans had no problem with nepotism when Trump was in the White House, and had his daughter a senior advisor. Jared Kushner was something.
Yeah.
Sure, his kids were getting paid. I can't even.
Where's the select committee on the $2 billion from the Saudis that went to Jared Kushner?
And where's the select committee and all that money that went to George Santos?
George Santos. But here, are you surprised that a character like that, climbs up through the ranks of the Republican Party after you've had a president who's lied, 20, 30, 40,000 times?
I mean, when you put it like that, I guess not. But at the same time, also yes, because nothing about what he said about himself seems to have been true, other than that he is a human being who is alive. I don't know what else.
I'm sure he's not an AI.
Is correct. Yeah, I guess he could be an android. I don't know.
But here's the thing, and I look at this select committee and the potential hearings we're going to have to live through, because Jordan was, instrumental in that Benghazi hearing that went on for literally ever.
Yeah.
And I expect we're going to get, a lot about the southern border. I suspect we're going to get a lot about what's going on in Afghanistan. I suspect, Fauci is going to be front and center a lot.
Oh, God, right.
I suspect, Merrick Garland. I suspect they're going to go after the Justice Department, who has literally done nothing. I suspect they're going to go after them, too.
Oh, yeah. They're going to go after them, and by extension, the FBI. Yeah, they're mad at everybody and just want to sit around and be mad as loudly as possible for Fox News.
Now, is this going to be helpful? How do you see, as the editorial director there, because I look at where I'm sitting in this chair, all of this insanity, all of this lunacy is going to be fertile ground for content. As political editorial director there at Courier Newsroom, how do you see this playing out for you guys?
I mean, what's the quote? A bunch of sound and fury signifying nothing. This doesn't do anything to help normal, everyday, middle class, hardworking Americans. None of this impacts their lives. And I feel very fortunate that I work for a news organization where we deliver news to our audience that not just horse race, not just BS that happens in DC. We deliver to them news that they need to improve their lives. We deliver news that they need to be informed citizens and informed voters. Jim Jordan's nonsense hearing doesn't meet that bar.
So you're talking about boring news then. None of that stuff I'm going to look at. I'm not going to click on because, oh, wow, inquiring minds want to know, how big is it? Never mind.
Well, all of our states right now, except for Florida, are just about to be in or just started their legislative session. So lots of things are actually happening in states all across the country.
No, and that's important.
Almost everyone's in session right now.
Let's talk about Virginia. Virginia just yesterday, I believe, you had a Democrat win a key Senate seat, which is going to hopefully maybe stop some craziness, because I guess Chunkin Yunkin gave a little spiel here. Was it yesterday?
Today. State of the Commonwealth was just a few hours ago.
And I guess, hitting on the same old notes. We're going to destroy public education. We're going to put you women folk back where you belong, barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen making pie. Right?
It's very specific. There was no mention of pie that I recall.
No pie? See, I could have gotten on board, but if there's no pie.
But he made clear that his priorities are a 15-week abortion ban and defunding public education and some tax things and yada, yada. But Republicans have a majority in the state House, and now Democrats have a bigger majority in the state Senate, thanks to that special election down in Hampton Roads just last night. It was a real squeaker, and the district is changing in redistricting. So Rouse, who won it, is going to run for re-election, and I believe the 22nd Senate district, which is a little different than the composition's a little different, but there's overlap with the current 7th. Anyway, the upshot is that by Democrats adding one more member to their caucus, they have completely defanged Joe Morrissey, who is the last elected anti-abortion Democrat in Virginia, and he is in the state Senate, and he was that 21st vote out of 40 members of the state Senate. And now we have a little buffer so everyone can ignore him.
And that's always a good thing because, that but here's the question, that issue, at some point, does that go away? Because look, I look at the last election. It is the reason that Democrats didn't get the slaughter that everyone anticipated. The reason at least I believe, you can correct me if you think I'm wrong, that the red wave didn't materialize because women were ticked. At some point, does that outrage go away if we keep just blocking things long enough to get to the next election cycle?
I don't think so. I mean, because that right is, the right exists in Virginia currently, but Republicans clearly want to do away with it. There are already a slew of bills either banning abortion outright, life begins at conception, various X number of weeks abortion bans. Like, Republicans are making it clear that getting rid of women's reproductive freedom is a high priority for them, and it's going to remain so. And so it's going to remain a very salient issue at the ballot box through this November.
Yes, I've always
which I don't know if all of your listeners and viewers know. Virginia has its state legislative elections this fall because there's an election every single year in Virginia.
What I know it's a crazy state. I get that. Let's go to Michigan. Let's go to Michigan. Michigan's a state that I'm hoping will show Democrats the way.
Oh my gosh, yes, the new Democratic majorities in Michigan are just coming out swinging. They're like, okay, we have power now, and we're going to use it, and it's just so great to see.
I wish Virginia would have done that a couple of years ago when they had the power to do so. But, for me, Michigan's looking at repealing all of the bad anti-worker stuff, the attacks on prevailing wage, the no rights at work stuff, expanding the earned income tax credit, doing some stuff to help working families. This I've been saying for years. Democrats, if you are listening, that's what you need to be doing.
No, I agree. I think that the histories of the state have a little bit more to do with what majorities feel comfortable doing with power. Even when Democrats were in control in Virginia, back before 2000, they were a very conservative political party. And so not only did they have to deal with their new majority status that they hadn't enjoyed in decades at that point when they finally got it back in 2019, they were not used to being in power as a progressive party. And I think it took them a little time to get their sea legs, and then they lost their House majority. And here we are. But,
and that's what happens when you don't have your quote unquote stuff together.
But Michigan, the Democrats were in the majority there not that long ago, about a little more than 10 years ago. It was the last time Democrats had a majority in that state House. So they're not completely unacquainted with being in charge. And until pretty recently, Michigan had all these very progressive policies that Republicans decided to do away with in the 2010s because they had all this power and were very thirsty.
Let's move over to Wisconsin. You got Wisconsin, the speaker there, that Robin Vos saying, no recreational marijuana, none for you.
Yeah, I think that he's just part of that reefer madness generation that I'm not sure. I think it's very difficult to sway those. And, this is some real anecdata here, but I know it took me a long time to convince my own parents, who are, generally very progressive about this sort of thing, that weed was not a scary, terrible thing that was going to lead to ruin, because they just kind of grew up in that generation. I think it's pretty beaten into them, the whole war on drugs. They were teachers in the 80s, and all you get are DARE officers coming into school showing the packets of, I don't know, meth or whatever they used to.
Did they actually carry meth with them?
I don't think, I'm pretty sure all the drugs in that like briefcase were fake, because the liability issues associated with bringing actual cocaine into a school seem pretty extreme.
Seems a bit extreme to me. It does. But the good thing is you're out there reporting on the important issues to keep people well informed, and none of this clickbait stuff either. And that is a good thing. Now I got to get you. Lastly, I know you're a big Twitter person like I am. Well, really not. I don't think either of us really are. But evidently the story hath come. Are you concerned that Elon Musk is going to sell your Twitter name?
No one wants my Twitter handle.
I do.
Like CFIDD. Like, who wants that? It's my first initial and the first 4 letters of my last name. Like, I mean, I know there are other CFIDs out there, but do they really, if they're really thirsting after that as their Twitter handle, fine, I guess. I don't know.
But it comes up to go, look, evidently our richest guy is floundering. When he's...
Yeah, no, the richest guy is not as clever as he really wanted everyone to believe, it seems.
So what's the big story? What's the big story this week? What are you paying attention to? What's the focus for the next couple of days?
Well, my attention is split. Paying attention to what's happening in Congress. Now the Republicans finally have a speaker. Sorry.
For how long? Are you taking?
Oh, not long.
You taking bets on how long that is?
3 months.
3 months?
Sorry.
You going 3 months?
I'm going 3 months. I think there's gonna be a lot of tap dancing, a lot of attempts to show unity, but I think that's gonna wear off pretty quickly, and people are gonna be mad about not getting what they thought they were promised in this secret deal to give him the speakership. And Matt Gaetz is gonna lie low for a while, but then he's gonna pop up and be like, "Hey, let's get rid of the speaker," and it's gonna be super fun for Democrats.
No, look, I'm glad Democrats played it the way they did. Stay out of it. Don't bail them out. Don't come up with a consensus person to try and help. Don't be helpful. Let them.
No, they did exactly what they needed to do. But yeah, so Republicans are having all these show votes, outlawing abortion. Just they're revealing their values right now to the American people. So focusing on that and making sure that folks know that what Republicans in Congress are standing for and standing against. And what they're standing against are everyday working Americans, because they're not doing a single thing to try and help them.
Yep. No, I'm with you. Carolyn, I appreciate the time as always. Thank you so much. Keep up the great work there at Courier Newsroom. Look forward to having you back again real soon.
Thank you.
Our good friend Carolyn Fiddler, the political editorial director there, couriernewsroom.com, the website. We'll get links out on social media. How you can take a look at that. Gonna take a quick break. Right back. 1-866-416-RICK. 1-866-416-7425. This is The Rick Smith Show. Working people come to talk.
Hey, this is Ken Casey from the Dropkick Murphys, and you're listening to The Rick Smith Show.
I've been driving buses for 5 years, and my day-to-day routine is I wake up a little earlier than most people. I get on a bus, I go out, I pick up some students and make sure they get to school nice and safe. Here in Fairbanks, Alaska, that can be a challenge because of the winter weather and the icy roads. But I love the job. So the Teamsters are great. They provide us a lot of protections. They've always taken care of their people, made sure that our jobs were secure. We didn't have to worry about whether or not we'd have a job from day to day.
And that's amazing, because before we'd be working 4, 6, 8 hours a day and only earning minimum wage. Was real difficult to make a living. And the Teamsters pushed the law so we make something we can live off of and not have to have a second job. What absolutely gives me peace of mind, the union membership allows me to focus on this job without having to worry about whether or not my family is going to be taken care of. I'm Andrew Case, and I'm proud to be Teamsters Local 959.
The world is watching as Vladimir Putin uses oil to fund his war in Ukraine. Tragically, we've seen this before. If we rely on foreign dictators and fossil fuels, this cycle will only continue. Starting now, let's decide who makes our energy. By investing in more clean energy right here in America, we can cut off the power of tyrants. Renewable, clean energy. That's real American energy independence.
back to the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is Rick Smith.
I remember the first time I said that Republicans want to take away contraceptive rights. It was probably about 12 years ago. And I got a lot of pushback. No, we just care about abortion. We just care about the unborn babies. We love babies. And who doesn't? I love babies too. And look, the reality is, I want people to want to have children and to be able to love them and take care of them and give them opportunities. And I want policies that are going to move in that direction. And I've always found it remarkable that the people who would spend their entire days, marching around in the streets, saying, no, we can't have abortion, are the ones who are going to fight against having a social safety net to make sure that they don't fund anything to take care of those kids. But it turns out Alabama's looking into prosecuting women who take the morning after pill. They're going to be using a law designed to protect children from meth lab fumes to get around the gymnastics to get to this. But they're talking about being able to prosecute women who take the morning after pill. And get ready for your local this summer's activities, because those crazy people who were marching out in front of the abortion clinics, not going to have to do that anymore. They're going to your local CVS and Walgreens. You know why? They're going to try and stop CVS and Walgreens from selling the morning after pills. Again, it's about the contraception. It's that simple. Let's quick go to the phone lines. We got Eric on line one. Eric, how are we doing today? Eric, what's on your mind? I think we lost Eric. All right, Eric, you there?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Oh, doing great. No, excellent show. Just wanted to add to the discussion what you were saying, how, again, Republicans don't care. Well, let's start pointing out, because the time is right, the time has come to start pointing out simple realities that everyday working people see and connecting some dots. Meaning, you know what? Yeah, Republicans don't care about the working, the working class. When was the last time you've heard a Republican advocate for, let's say, a 30-hour work week? Or how about a 4-day work week? Or more vacation time? Why aren't they one-upping the union negotiations, saying, you know what? 3 weeks vacation, that's too damn little. We need to give them 6 or 8. When was the last time that happened?
Never.
None. Also, they love, again, it's fine to keep a single-parent household, then why don't you pay them enough money? So when he works as a manager at McDonald's, why can't he support himself and his family so then, they can put the roof over their head and food on the table, enough to get maybe, enough for a rainy day and have a good time? When was the last time that happened? None. That's how you know they don't care. Why do we always get shafted with these tax bills? We see Trump's tax returns now. Did it hurt him at all? He still seems to be rich. A lot of these guys still seem to be rich. Yet who are the ones, financing this party? Us. We're doing it through our taxes. We're doing it through our, the price gouging, and none of them care. Notice how they've stopped talking about food prices and gas prices.
I love this guy. I love you, man.
And that's I just wanted to share that. So you keep up the good work, man.
Good stuff, Eric. I appreciate it, man. No, seriously, this is he's spot on. And I say this all the time. Republicans hate working people. Just look at their policies. And in fact, when was the last time the Republicans came up with an idea for a 30-hour work week or more sick days? He's right. Never. Never. These are the people who want to bring back child labor. Remember Newt Gingrich when he ran for president? What did he say? We're going to get rid of those union janitors and get the kids to do the work. Remember that? This is who they are. And for me, the sad reality is we keep falling into this hole. Eric is spot on right. And we need more understanding of just how bad we've been getting screwed over by a system that doesn't care about working people. And look, to be honest, the Democrats haven't always been my best friend either. It's our job to push them. And I keep telling my Republican friends, I want Republicans who care about working people just as much as I want Democrats to care about working people. The difference is I actually believe the Democrats do care, because they do put forth policies to increase the minimum wage, to make sure that we do the right thing on overtime. You know, the fact during the Obama years, they wanted to increase the threshold, the minimum wage to overtime exemption up to $47,000, a meager $47,000, and the Republicans lost their freaking minds. Sued, it never happened. Trump comes in, they dropped it down to somewhere in the 35 range, which means if you're working at the fast food place, you're working at a grocery store, you're working at a retail store, if you're making 35 grand a year, they can work you 100 hours a week. Historically, that number has been somewhere in the 50, 60 range, which is where it should be to get an overtime exemption. We should be demanding that, you know what? That 40-hour work week should be sacrosanct. Maybe we should be talking about a 30-hour work week. Especially as AI comes online, we should be talking about how we improve lives, how things get better. But not when we got the kind of division and destruction that's going on in the House right now. No, none whatsoever. We still got companies, we're going to buy back all our shares so we can screw workers out of wages. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate it. Gets me started down that path of anger, because we continually get this stuff shoved down our throats. And it's going to take us waking up. It's going to take us putting down our red hats and our blue hats and putting on a hard hat and standing together and fighting for working class values. Just my view. I want to hear yours, though. Email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. If you got a question, comment, something on your mind, by all means, send me an email. Also, you have the opportunity, check out the podcast if you missed any portion of the show. Wherever you get your favorite podcast, you'll find ours, from Stitcher to Podbean and everywhere in between. Going to take a quick break. When we come back, our good friend Will Bunch is going to be here, national columnist over at the Philadelphia Inquirer. Stick around. You're listening to The Rick Smith Show. We're working people. Come to talk.
The good news is America is coming back. More jobs, more building, more of what makes our country great. And more cities and towns, more small businesses and big corporations are choosing the highly skilled, highly trained members of the IBEW to do the work. The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers is committed to doing the job right, on time, and safely. America is making a big comeback, and the IBEW is proud to do our part.
Calling all builders, all welders and roofers, engineers and electricians, calling all brick masons and boilermakers, steel workers and steam fitters. Your country is calling you to rebuild America, to create a cleaner, safer, more prosperous future for all. Tackling climate change, this is the job of our lifetime. It's time to build back better. Let's get to work.
I took 2 years of electric in high school, and I was the only girl in the class there. Here, I'm the only girl as far as installers go. I'm a single mom, too. I joined the union because it gave me options for health care and life insurance so that I know my son's taken care of. I like what I do. Like, this is the best job I've ever had. You think solar panels is more like California. You wouldn't think Appalachia would have any. It would be smart if the government would invest more in clean energy resources.
So Montana Republican Congressman Ryan Zinke, you remember him? He was, I think, Interior Secretary for about, 18 minutes. Didn't he have something with pens? There's something, pens in a door or something, some enormous amount of spending, riding horses in Washington, D.C., some bit of craziness, if you remember him getting in the middle of. Because, hey, it's all about me. I need attention. Love me. Evidently on the floor ranting about the deep state. Because evidently, according to him, the deep state doesn't want there to be any cowboys anymore. He said, there is no doubt the federal government deep state coordinates with liberal activists and uses politicians and willing media to carry their water. In many cases, they want to wipe out the American cowboy completely. Oh, yeah, he said that. Now, look, this kind of rhetoric plays big in Montana. You may remember Montana used to be something of a sane, rational state. They used to split the ticket. They used to be a fairly swing, moderate, kind of leaning right-ish. Now, well, because of all of the right-wing money and all of the wealthy folk who have gone there to take over, they're solidly in the, oh my gosh, crazy. And a big part of it is, look, it's like what we found in Iowa. It's that whole Christian conservative extremist movement combined with outrage talk radio and a constant drumbeat of be afraid of those others. They're coming for your children. And now, of course, the gas stoves. This is what's done it. This is what's radicalized a good portion of America. And that's why we need to start fighting back on that. I want to hear your thoughts. Email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. Miss any portion of the program, make sure you grab the podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. See you back here next time.
You've been listening to The Rick Smith Show. Email Rick at rick@thericksmithshow.com. Until next time, this has been The Rick Smith Show, where working people come to talk.